What's going on? So the Wolves Den is back, and we're going to be talking about expectations going into 2023, whether that is Ferrari, Red Bull, Mercedes, McLaren, any driver, any team principal, whatever the case may be. We are going to talk about it. What are people expecting? What are people wanting to happen? What do people think are going to happen? So the Wolves Den members are going to start, and Mary Beanie, like no other, has been first to the checkered flag. She has her hand raised already. So Mary, what do you want to bring up as far as today's topic?
I want to bring up the thing that I sent you, Jay, about what Peter Windsor said. He is totally 100% correct. I said ages ago in a live chat, I went, trust me, you haven't seen the real George Russell. You haven't. I'm telling you, I don't trust him. I didn't want him. I wanted Valerie to stay, and so did Lewis. It's to me, it's Max 2.0 version driving. Because I tell people, and think, oh, George is this, George is that. I went, no. Go and watch George in GP2, and then you'll ken the real George. Don't trust him for one minute.
So what did Peter Windsor say to give some people some context to what you responded to? Right. What did he say? And just paraphrase it.
Right. Well, Lewis wanted to keep Valtteri. He did not want Valtteri to go. And Peter said, if Lewis is there, why do you need George there? Which is true. You know, okay. I think a few people have seen the interview, but that's how I would suggest to yourself, get Peter on here and he'll tell you the whole thing. But I totally 100% agree with what he has said about Mercedes. Totally. And the clip that you were trying to get earlier, the Monza one, it was Lewis coming out the pits.
Yes.
And Max realised that Lewis got ahead of him.
He did.
And that's how it happened.
That is true. That is true. I think I'm going to just respond briefly to what you said. I do believe there is a point. There's a point on both sides, I think, to make it. Now, I'm definitely not going to even add any assistance to Russell not being Max 2.0. And before I even give him Max 2.0, like I said, Max S driving style, I completely believe in that. But also on the behalf of Mercedes and the future of Mercedes, at some point in time, Mercedes does have to basically have a succession plan. I do also understand the notion that at this point in time, I know people want Lewis to fall off, but Lewis hasn't fallen off. So it's like, why would you need a driver like Russell if you have somebody like Lewis and then Valtteri is that? I just think maybe just a little bit, maybe Mercedes jumped ahead, but at the other end of it, was Valtteri really wanting to stay? Did he really want to stay? Or was he ready himself to just go ahead and leave? So I do get both sides, but one thing I will say, Russell really does have a Max S type of driving style. But in the other notion, Russell definitely probably is the best option that they have right now if you look across the grid as far as a Mercedes succession plan once Lewis leaves the sport. So, you know, I feel you. I'm with you on the whole thing with Russell. I think, you know, they always say bad people will always be bad people, and money will not make bad people better. It will just make bad people worse people. And I definitely think you had a point. Like when he gets a better car, we're likely to see Russell get a bit more uglier to others if he hasn't been already. And you might be like, God damn, that dude might likely be toxic. But I'm hoping not. I am hoping not. I am hoping. I'm hoping in 2023 we'll really see. I think Lewis is somebody who's a good judge of character too. So if Lewis rocks with him to a degree, I think that if you're a Lewis fan and you really ride with him, you kind of got to give George a pass on the behalf of Lewis until you see something that is clearly like if Russell does something that's like clear and cut, I don't give a damn how much Lewis vouches for him. I ain't going for that shit. Like if he does something this season that's clear and cut, I definitely am not going for it, especially like Max did to Perez. There ain't no coming back from that for me. Like, I'm just being honest. Like if I'm Perez, ain't no coming back from that shit, bro. I'm sorry.
I'll give you an example, Jay, right?
Okay.
I've been following Lewis since 2006, since he was in GP2 days, right?
Okay.
And Lewis used to get the elbows out, but he was never dirty. He was never dirty. He got them out, but he was never dirty. He kept it
Right.
clean.
Right.
But George, I watched George. I followed George for a few years. Followed him all the way through GP2. And I'm telling you, it's one to watch. Because he has no problem taking somebody out. He's a great person, but what I say about his MaxiPad 2.0 version is the driving. The driving. Not the person, the driver.
But the character, his character is okay with you, but his driving style is definitely Max 2.0.
But Valtteri wanted to stay.
Okay.
And I'm just going to say to all Team LH, keep the faith, because I've seen pictures in the W14 and she looks lovely.
I like it. I like it. I like it. So who else want to go next? Who else has some expectations or forecasts about the 2023 season they want to bring to the table? I think Mary kind of introduced something. Galacticus, you got something you want to say, bro? Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Hold on, Galacticus. If anybody who came in beforehand, just raise your hand and I'm going to come to you for your topic. And if you want to offer a response to something that another family member says, click off real quick and just say, can I respond to that? Go ahead, Galacticus. You got it, bro.
Yeah, I think for 2023, I think we're going to see a new Perez. I think what Max did at the end of the season put a bad taste in his mouth to the point where I don't think he's going to be the minister of defense for Max anymore. I just got this feeling that he's like, okay, I see you're not a team player unless it's all for you. But when it's clearly a chance for me to get a little shine, for us to do this dynamic duo type thing, which could have happened.
Right.
They could have came out 1-2 if he would have assisted Perez in the crucial stages of the different races and things like that. So I think Perez is going to be a little different driver and maybe not so much as a team player next year. That's my guess. And I'm going to be looking for that because I think Max really kind of stabbed him in the back twice, so to speak. Yeah, that's my feeling on that.
I definitely, Maria, before I even respond to that, did you have a response to that, or you were going to bring something new? If not, I'll respond to that, then let you bring it to the table.
Yeah, why don't you respond and I'll go with something else.
Okay. I think, Galacta, I think you got a point, bro. I would hope so that would happen. And I know people are like, why would you hope something like that? You just hope Red Bull fails. It's not that. It's about the point that Perez represents, like all drivers, they represent a country, they represent a nation of people. And that's one thing I love about Formula One. Like, you have a nation of representatives on this track, which is why I think it's very critical for Lewis Hamilton, our successor in Lewis Hamilton's place that identifies with that, to be around the nation. Like, I like to see a melting pot of a sport on the track. And I think Perez not doing that, because I come from an area where Spanish, Mexican, Dominican, Brazilian fighters are very prideful about respect. And in a group together, we had a lot of respect and we didn't play any bullshit about defending each other when it came to that. So for Perez to undergo what has been thrusted his way, not only with the bullshit that Max did with pretty much saying, like, I don't give a shit about your career. I don't give a shit about Red Bulls 1 and 2. I'm not helping you. I'm not doing it for my own selfish reasons, is one thing. But then for the so-called reports to come out that his mom tried to dirty him up as far as his marriage was like that was way below the belt. That was dirty. And then, I mean, we still got the comments of him and Marco talking about tequila. You mentioning that your driver might have been under the influence of alcohol while driving a high sophisticated elite machine. There have been several things thrown at Perez that I completely didn't like. And I would hope that going into next season that he shows them, you can't do me like that. You can't talk to me like that. You can't treat me like that. I know I signed a contract, but I didn't sign on to be a punching bag, nor did I sign on to be some hooker out here for you to just hold me out whenever you want to. That's not what I signed up for. And I would like to see Perez stand up for his dignity and to demand some respect from the team for what he has done, what he's capable of doing, and more than likely what he will do in any car that gives a good amount of performance. So that's what I got to say about that, definitely. So Maria, you can go ahead and bring it to the table. Apex Media Sheldon, I'm gonna mute you till you raise your hand and bring you on. Go ahead,
Hey, can
Maria.
you hear me? Yeah, can
Yeah,
you hear
we
me
got you.
okay? Okay, first of all, Happy New Year to the
Happy New
Wolfpack
Year.
family. Glad to be reconnected with everybody. Well, first, I just want to say I agree with everything you said, Jay. I hope you and Galacticus are correct. Galactus, I think that's how it's pronounced. I hope you're both correct about Perez, because the level of disrespect that's been shown to him from Red Bull isn't like anything I've ever seen. It's just, especially after how he sacrificed his own races for the betterment of the team, so to speak, and specifically for Max's benefit. And I hope he does remember that there are millions of Mexicans and other Hispanics that are looking to him to really show up on the grid this time, because every time he's disrespected, that whole community is as well. So I hope he stands up. You know, I know they're dangling Danny Ricciardo and other people above him, but I hope he steps up and he does his thing on track and says, hey, I'm just, throw caution to the wind. Whatever they want to do, let them do it, but I'm going to do my thing. So that's what I have to say about the Perez thing. Okay. For myself, for 2023, I have to be honest and say that after this last season, I am so completely demoralized about Formula One. And it's not even about the W13, although that's an aspect of it. For me, it's more about how the sport is being governed. I had really hoped that in 2022, after the fiasco of Abu Dhabi 2021, we were going to see a new FIA, a new, a new approach from the stewards and from the racing directors. But all they've done is double down on the nonsense, the shenanigans, as you would say, of 2021. Like, honestly, can anyone remember any penalties Max got last year in 2022, other than that 5-second penalty for colliding with Lewis Hamilton in Brazil? He went over, track limits. He went over pit lane exits. He pushed people off the track, and the FIA turned a blind eye to all of it. So it seems to me that they're doubling down on, this is our guy, and we're going to do everything we can to make sure he stays our guy. Because every time Lewis Hamilton wins, every time Lewis Hamilton shows up with all of his might, as we know he can, I think it's a reminder to everybody about how dirty they did him in Abu Dhabi. So I'm hoping the W14 is a rocket ship, because that's all Lewis needs. I agree with Mary. I am, to me, George Russell's looking really suspect now after what he did in Brazil in qualifying, and also what he did in the Zandvoort or whatever that Dutch that Dutch Grand Prix where he went and made sure his tires were taken care of. I don't mind him looking out for himself, but he didn't say, hey, why don't you bring us both in, double stack, whatever you have to do. I can drive real slow. Let's double stack. Let's get us both on. No, he took care of himself, and he didn't care about Lewis. That told me everything I need to know about his character, me personally. I agree. I like Valtteri much better. I get that Mercedes didn't want to give him a multi-year contract. That's what he wanted. To me, he was a better teammate as long as he still could see a future with Mercedes. But as soon as he knew he was out, he was, brother was MIA on the track. He was nowhere to be seen. He could have helped Lewis with some of those races. I'm not holding out any hope that George is going to do anything to help Lewis in any way. Not that Lewis needs help, you know what I mean? But
Right.
I hate to see Lewis competing against his own teammate for race wins. Anyhow, I just want to say I'm a bit pessimistic just because of the way the FIA has been governing Formula One and how they let Red Bull and Max get away with everything. I'm hopeful that Lewis has a competitive car and can get back to the front of the grid. But I don't think George Russell is going to be his buddy on track. That's it. So
that's fair. That's shit. That's it. That was damn good, Maria. Very well. I'm gonna let you drop the mic right there. I'm gonna let it stay on the stage until you come back. Galactus, I'm gonna go to Kirkland, and then I'm gonna start with you, then Mary Beanie, since Hamilton hasn't had an opportunity to speak yet. So go ahead, unmute yourself, Hamilton, man. You got it.
What's up, everybody? So I mean, I was just going to piggyback what was already said. The FIA, like having Ben Slam come in, he was supposed to be like Mr. Rule Follower guy. Like at the beginning of the season, they were like tracking down like Lewis's nose rings and stuff like that, and like people were cracking jokes about like underwear and stuff like that. And then like that just disappeared. Like that it got swept under the rug. And like even like Ross Braun, like about the cost cap, like he was talking real greasy,
real
about
spicy.
If anyone does anything, like it's gonna be a problem. And then so what I look forward to is it seems Mercedes is like fully intentioned on like Toto seems fully willing to cut that check. So I look forward to the point of the season where that happens.
You and us both. I think that's very good. They definitely, I think, like Maria said, they doubled down. And I thought a lot of us were anticipating that after we had the despicable scandal that took place on worldwide television, that it was literally going to be something that going forward was like, hey, we dirtied that shit up, but let's not go any further. Let's go ahead and clean this up. Like, we can't be doing that shit no more. But like Maria said, they doubled down pretty much on it with securing the whole situation and doing everything else except for coming out and saying, hey, it's dead wrong. We're going to have to change the result. The result was tainted. It is what it is. Now, whether Hamilton accepted that or not is another thing. I can understand even myself being like, man, I don't even want that shit after all this. But it's the point that as an organization, we're stepping up, saying we're wrong. We got it wrong. It was done wrong. It was dirty what happened. And we're at least presenting it to you, period. You know, if you don't want to accept it, we're still going to put your name on it. We're still going to put it up there on the shelf. And it is what it is. But at least it won't go in future in history that we did not come back, check it, correct it, and move forward and do better. They haven't done that. They've
even the NFL did it, man. Even the NFL with all the kneeling stuff, they were like, you know what? We actually did wrong. Like this was not a good look for us.
Right. Even Roger Goodell came out and said, man, I got to change my life. You know what I'm saying? It's just funny. It's just horrible. It's not funny, but it's horrible. It gets comedic at a point because you got to laugh at how ridiculous it just keeps going on. So definitely, let me get Galactus, and then I'm going to go to Apex and then Mary. Go ahead, Galactus, bro.
Yes. To that point, with the FIA, if you watch the awards show right at the end where the president was doing all that talking like the drunk guy at the wedding with the microphone, just telling all the dirt, to the point where they had to cut his mic, you know, because he started spilling the beans and saying, well, you drivers decided on, you know, the points and how to win and everything. So that's that double down and being crooked. And like you said, Braun saying, if you go over the cap, it's going to have teeth. It didn't. It had, you know, gummy bear teeth.
There you go. Gummy bear dentures.
Extremely soft. So, but also to what I think Kirkland has mentioned, that Mercedes is ready to just cut the check. I'm going to get this car to the way I want it. If I go over, so be it. I got, you know, billions in the bank. You know, I will just give you 10 million to be like, here, yeah, I went over. Here's 10 million, pay my fine and get this trophy. You know, so I would say one thing Mercedes really needs to do, and I know Mary is going to enjoy this, they need pit stop school right now. Their pit stops were trash. Their pit stops were terrible. And
Horrible.
if they go to the school of Red Bull to learn how to do pit stop, I'm fine
Facts.
with it. You know,
Facts.
because that makes a big difference when you add it all up. So hopefully they get their act together on that. Hopefully the W14 is a rocket ship, nice and slippery, no bouncing. And let's get these wins. And let's see if George is going to play his role as a good competitive driver and a great teammate. So if he drives hard but be a team player, I'm cool with that. But once he started kind of going out and not being much of a team player, then I can see things kind of fall off for him.
Okay.
You know, because I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt. He's young, he's eager, he's going for it, but you can go to the point where you cross the line and go too far.
Yep.
And if you go too far, then it's like, okay, come on, George. Just like Max did. You know, Max was at the line, and then what he did to Perez was crossing the line. I'm like, okay, you done went
Right.
too far. That's your
Right.
teammate. You know, we're not telling you to pull over and stop the car, but you could have easily did a couple, you know, slow down at the right point where
Right.
Perez could get DRS, and then y'all both could tow each other to the finish line.
Right.
And that's how you should do it. You know,
Right.
if your person is, you know, if he's right there within a second, let off for 3 seconds, let him get close, and then tow him to the win. And
Right.
that's the way he could have done. And then at the end, if you want to swap places or whatnot, go right ahead. You know, just go ahead and dominate. So hopefully Mercedes can do some of that next year. Also, I'm looking for McLaren to do something, and all the new drivers. Hopefully they come out the gate doing well and no crashing and tearing up the car. I'm really excited to see what Nick is going to do as well, because I got a feeling Nick is so hungry. He went to Formula E and he showed out, got his championship. He was in enduro racing and all these other places, you know, just letting people know I'm here. So
Right.
hopefully he get in the car and he do something, and I'm looking forward to that.
That's a bet. Apex Media, you got it. Unmute yourself. Apex Media, Sheldon, you got it. Well, I tell you what, until Sheldon finds out where that unmute button is, Mary Beanie, you up.
Okay, right. Well, Galacticus was saying, I really hope they do have the pit stops in check, or I'll be camping down at Brackley and show them how to blink and well do it myself. Because I can change a tyre, but I'll have a crack at changing a light an F1 tyre. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm done with George. Nah, done. He's to me, he's not a team player, and he wasn't a team player in GP2. I'd advise anybody that thinks George is a goody two shoes to watch him in GP2, because he's not.
Gotcha.
He ain't. But I know the pictures I've seen and a wee video I've seen, the W14, she's going to fly. And about a week and a half's time, they're going to Silverstone to try out the car. And I'm going to get a sneaky video, but I can't show anybody, because I'm the one, the person I know to get sacked. But I live in hope. I have got hope that Lewis is going to get his 8th this year. And I hope Perez really does, how can I put this, fuck him over. I hope he does. I hope he does, because Perez, I mean, even when I was there at AG 21, the battle between Perez and Lewis was brilliant.
Oh, yes.
There was no incident there.
Right.
I hope Perez really just, after all the crap that Marco and Maxi Paz's mother phone at him, I hope he does stick it to them. I really hope. But I'm looking forward to the 19th of February for winter testing. I know a lot of people call it pre-season. I've always called it winter testing. 19th of February to the 28th of February. But it's only in Bahrain this year.
All right.
No Barcelona. But I'm hopeful. I mean, it takes a lot for me to watch another race after being there and seeing it like real time. But I've got hope. I always have hope. You've got to always have hope. But I don't know, this year I just think they've got to grips with the fuel. I think that was the main problem last year with the W13. The fuel.
Definitely one of the problems.
They had the power, but they couldn't get the power. But I think they've got a grip here.
Right.
And she looks lovely. Oh, I just hope. That's all.
All right. Let's see. Maria Duncan, you up? So Sheldon, you got that unmute mic thing fixed yet, bro?
Yep.
Oh, hold on. Okay.
Okay,
cool.
let him go. Let him go,
okay.
then I'll go.
Maria, you so classy. Go ahead, Sheldon. You got it, bro.
Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I appreciate that. I appreciate the platform. I want to talk about that fire stream you had the other day when you was talking about Max, and because people will probably give us this reputation of we're this Max hater channel, but
right.
I agree with what you said. Where like there's a point to where we will respect Max. For example, I actually follow all motorsports. I follow NASCAR, and there's like Dale Earnhardt Jr., guys like Kyle Busch, where if you give them the villain hat, they will wear it and they will own up to it. Right. And that's the thing about Max is like when he does his stuff, if he would just come on and be like, yeah, I didn't give him any room, I would be okay. I would actually respect him. Like he would get, that would be fun, but he doesn't come out. And then he tries to play the victim, and that's what rubs a lot of race fans the wrong way. He just doesn't come up and own up to it. If you do something, whether it's good, bad, in between, own up to it. And he will get respect. I believe even people in here right now will respect him even more for doing that. And he doesn't do it. Kyle Busch, sometimes he goes over the line. That's one of my favorite drivers.
Right.
But I grew to respect him, even though I didn't start off liking him, because when he does his stuff, he come and be like, yeah, I'm going to race him like that because I just don't like him. He said that about Brad Keselowski. Sometimes you just don't like a guy, and he will race Brad Keselowski the same way every time. And if Max would just come out and say, yeah, I kind of will race Lewis that way because, for whatever reason, I will respect him. And he tries to play the victim. Like like you say, he always tries to play he's clueless. And, nobody is buying it. Like we watch you guys. We watch them.
Facts. Bro, I like the hoodie too.
Thank you.
No problem. But that's a very good point. And that's what I was saying is it's your character. Like I keep trying to tell people, Max is a good driver. I'm not giving him great yet. Like he hasn't, to me, a lot of these records, they really trying to pump up and make them like they're bigger than they really are. Max is getting records, surely, but he's not great yet. Like he's not great yet. I don't give the great award just like like some people look in an investment and say, you know what? It could possibly be great one day. So I'm gonna call him great today. No, I'm like, what the hell are you doing today compared to what greatness has already done before you is what I'm looking into. And until you get to that point, I'm not gonna just crown you great, especially when you got the great on the circuit with you right now. And I always say this, it takes two. You need a good car, a good driver to do good things. You got a good car and a great driver, you can still do great things. You got a subpar car and a great driver, you can mitigate that shit. And that's what Lewis Hamilton did with a subpar ass car. Nobody was expecting to get podiums and for Mercedes to make that much progress. So that speaks more to the driver in that instance. This 2022 season, Max didn't have no pressure. Another thing he didn't have a lot of competitors. Ferrari fumbled it up, threw it up in a bucket and just sent it right over the Red Bull. Like, here you go. And Mercedes they showed up too little too late at the end of the season. Although good as far as forecasting their ability next season, it didn't do anything for them in that season. So Max, we've seen Max under pressure. And I say this all the time, Max is not good under pressure. He's not good under pressure. He's seen it. And until I see him do that, I'm not going to credit him, even look at crediting him as great, but I would respect Max if he just stood up and say, hey, man, this is just the way I am. This is the way I'm going to drive. I mean, and if they want to penalize me, cool. But I'm just saying, Lewis Hamilton is one of the greats. And anytime I get a chance to be beside him, I'm going to do damn well whatever I can to make sure I don't lose to him. I'd be like, well, shit, I can't blame you, bro. I ain't saying I would do it your way, but I can't blame you. But he's not doing that. Like you say, he plays a damsel in distress.
One other thing, Jay, like you were talking about the difference between being a good driver, and being a great driver. You know what the great ones do?
Tell me.
When they mess up, they say it.
They say it.
When Lewis ran into Alonso, you can see that there's two ways you can see it. But Lewis said, you know what? It's my fault. I did it. My fault. That's the great. That's the difference between a great driver and a good driver.
Right.
Max ain't there yet. Specifically, not because of he doesn't have the accolades of Lewis, but he does. You're right. You're 100% right. He doesn't have the character, because a good character be like, when they mess up, they say, yeah, I messed up. Yeah, I overreacted. Yeah, I overcooked the corner. When they mess up, they'll say, yeah, I got to do better. Facts. You can't tell this guy nothing, especially what you see he did with Perez. You can't tell him that he did anything wrong.
Right. That's true. That's a fact.
So
hell yeah,
that's the difference between a great driver.
That's facts. Good shit, bro. Hey, appreciate that much. I'm gonna go do let me see, Kirkland. You up, bro?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I also don't think that like he's gotten to the level of being a great driver, but I feel like even the things y'all are talking about, just him not being a good person. Like, I don't, like if you can't admit when you're wrong, like I hate to be your wife. Let's put it that way.
Right. Oh shit.
But what I was gonna say is kind of like backtracking to George. Like, I think George is gonna be all right, because like in general, like you got to remember, like all these guys are like so hardwired to be hyper competitive. Like,
yeah,
that's always what they're going to want to do. So like, yeah, if George has an opportunity to like call his own number, like that decision to hit the pit under the safety car, like that was such a quick hitting thing that like, yeah, honestly, I was asking myself, like, why didn't Lewis call his own number? Like, he drove right past the pit lane right before George called it.
Right.
But like the other thing too is like George is super young. Like when Lewis was George's age, like Lewis's first race, he threw it down the inside on Alonso and like took him right in turn one. So like he wasn't playing team ball either when he first came out. Like I think all these guys come in and want to make their mark, and the guys that are team players like Checo, like he's made his mark, right? Like how many Mexican drivers are there, right? Like I think in general we forget like how European F1 really is. That,
good point.
They're being drivers from like, I don't like Lance, but like,
good point.
North American driver at least. Like,
right. That's a point. That's a very good point. That is a very good point. I think that sometimes gets annulled or jaded, and when you really have, you lose concept of that entire picture, and that's a very good point. Good point. Mary, you got it next, then Edmund, then Wildcat.
I just want to respond to Kirkland. You like Mr. Shortley? Oh my God, no. What is to like about that man? That man is like pure nothing. He said, oh.
I think what he was saying is, it would, like in the same instance we were talking about, if Max would just own up to his character. I think that Alonso in that owns his character, right? He pretty much owns his character. He just comes out and pretty much says it. Like, at least he owns it. He doesn't play the damsel in distress. At least I haven't seen him really play the damsel in distress, but he is to me, I don't like Alonso, especially for some of the shit he's done. Like, I don't like him, but I can at least say, hey, the motherfucker know he dirty and he speak greasy, and that's what he is. But I don't like Alonso for shit.
I totally agree with that.
I got a damn. No, it was so bad. Maria sent the Alonso card back. That's how bad it was. I got to send her new cards out.
Well, you know what? I made a comment in the chat. I said, I just want Lewis cards. I don't want Max cards or Mr. Totally cards. And
I got you. I was
like, no, I don't like him. Period. I don't like him.
Got you.
I don't like him. But
would you say whether Max or Alonso is a better driver.
Oh shit! I would say Max.
Alonso's like too big in the head. He always thinks he's done that for day dot. Even when I seen him in 94, 95, 96, no, one I seen 96 for 2004, 2005, 2006. He was cocky because he got the better of Schumacher. But then he didn't like the young gun coming in, Lewis. I mean, Lewis was straight off the mark. And that thing that you're talking about, Lewis seen an opportunity, he took it. Didn't try and take anybody out, but what Alonso done in further races, now that was dirty. But I just want to say, as your CEO, Wildcat, I hope you have been practicing. Because I know you can do it. That's why I believe in you. I want to see you at P1.
Damn, you heard that. Well, matter of fact, we're gonna get to Edmund so we can get the Wildcat. He can respond to that on the back end. Edmund, go ahead, man. Unmute yourself.
Hey, what's up, fam?
What's the business, bro?
Man, I don't know about y'all, but I'm going crazy. I need some races.
It's coming, bro. It's on the way.
Yeah. But yeah, definitely, man. I appreciate the channel. I agree with what everybody was saying. I was thinking this when y'all were talking about George. I think Hamilton wants a teammate like him. That's competitive. He doesn't want nobody to give him races and all that. He wants to earn it. So I appreciate how George conducts himself on the track and you know how competitive he is. But I want just to say that and just say I really think that this next year we're going to see a lot more competitive cars. You know, I don't think we're just going to see 2 or 3. You know, I think we're going to have races where there's going to be, 4 or 5 people that have an opportunity to, to do well. So I think Red Bull has had their years of cheating and all that, but I think, everybody's kind of catching on to their BS, so they're going to have to cut back. But I'm definitely looking forward to a competitive season.
I am too. I think I think we were hoping to get that this season, but it definitely didn't turn into that. So next season, like I said, like I had mentioned about the whole situation where I was responding to somebody saying that basically Max was a better driver than Lewis Hamilton and was probably going to go on to beat his record. I think people are being a little short-sighted when they're thinking about the grand scheme. And that's why I made that video. If you go back, look at Lewis's career, look at Schumacher's career, which are the two tied at the most championships, their wins are not consecutive all the way through. And if Max is going to equal any of those in his time of his contract, which is 2028, he will be 30, I believe, and he's already talking about leaving the sport, that's a tall ass task to go that long dominant without any losses, without any win. That's not necessarily impossible, but it's nowhere near realistic. If you look at the greatest that have done it, it hasn't been like that. So why you think Max is going to come along and do that? And plus you have to take into the account that not only that, but these other cars in a season that other teams had issues getting used to the new regulations. And while Adrian Newey and the Red Bull engineering department and the collaboration of collecting Mercedes engineers and happened to get that with Adrian Newey, have all the fun information he did on ground effects, Red Bull landed in a sweet spot for the new regulations. Ferrari also landed in a decent spot for regulations, and then they Ferrari'd it up. Mercedes and the rest of the grid on back did not. So you still got to account for these teams collecting all their data, and you think they're going to come back the next season with cars less competitive? No, Mercedes already showed you in a season the leaps and bounds that they made as far as making a shitbox a competitive car towards the end. That's not likely going backwards with Mercedes. I don't see that now. Aston Martin and McLaren and Maybe even shit, you could just chuck Haas and Williams in there. That shit could happen, but it's not likely to happen with Mercedes. So I think that you're right. We should see more competitive cars. We should hopefully see McLaren more competitive. I'm very doubtful about Aston Martin. Red Bull is definitely going to be there. It's just about the gap closing between Red Bull and the rest of the top performing grid. So Edmund, I think you got a very critical and a very good point. Wildcat, unmute yourself, brother, man. Okay, Wildcat don't want to say shit. He wanted to give me the silent treatment. Okay, what's up, brother, man?
I wasn't getting the silent treatment. Mary, what's this in my hand?
Oh, so he practices.
That's
good to see. I have been home from work. I just got home from work about a little over an hour ago. Trust me, I done did something. But this coming season, aside from George probably showing us that Jekyll and Hyde personality that he's been hiding from everybody, I foresee not Sir Lewis Hamilton showing up. I foresee 2008 Lewis showing up this season.
Ooh.
If George shows his ugly head, I foresee Lewis showing that natural nature of Lewis and putting George in his place along with Max. Aside from that, I'm a little bit interested to see how the Lando Norris Oscar Piastri duo is going to do at McLaren.
That trio.
Lando already got a big head because he feels like, I done outdid Ricardo. But to be to be a little bit fair, had Ricardo stayed his behind at Red Bull like he should have, instead of to a point chasing that bag going to Renault. Granted, he didn't do bad with Renault. He did help them get a little better.
Yes.
In some aspects. But had he stayed at Red Bull, Ricardo would have probably already had a title before Max did. And it's mainly because, I was watching a video somebody posted out there, and it's true. When it comes down to a constructor being able to not just build a fast car, but also deliver a fast car that is more to how the driver is driving, Red Bull to a point does kind of take the cake on that one. Mercedes, they have made a hell of a few cars, but as we have seen, Lewis in a car that ain't even tailored to him can make that car do wonders. Right. Especially this season. So Ricardo at Red Bull, he had promise right there. He's kind of screwed that one up, but it gave Lando a big head, figuring, McLaren's now my team. I'm not going anywhere. I'm the number one. Oscar Piastri, I'm interested to see, is he going to be able to bring Lando back down to earth and make him realize, hey, this ain't just about you over here. Now you got to actually drive. Right. With AlphaTauri, that's that one still kind of makes me laugh, but that's going to be the shortest driver pairing on the whole dang grid.
That's facts. That is true. Damn.
That kind of made me laugh when they made the comment at Monza that they had to move the pedal box closer just for Nick DeVries at Monza in Albon's car. Right. Now, the one that really is, I think, going to cause a lot of drama this year is going to be Esteban and Pierre Gasly, because everybody knows those two have not gotten along in the past. They have not gotten along. There was some major beef between them, worse than Ocon versus Perez. There's been major beef between those two. So is that going to look something like how Lewis and Nico did when they were kind of fighting it out them 3 years at Mercedes together? Or are they going to actually be civil and cordial and professional with each other and say, hey, we on the same team. Let's bury the axe and let's work together. Let's try and get Alpine, to maybe beat McLaren and be, best of the rest in the midfield. Everybody already knows Mercedes is coming for blood this year, regardless of what anybody does. Ferrari done dropped the ball. Okay, Mercedes, they already said we ain't going away from the no side pod thing. So obviously they figured out something with no side pods. That should, think, tell Red Bull, hey, uh-oh. But, Red Bull, they figure, oh, we got the FIA under our control. We good. You're not. You're really not. But
all right. That's a
and
bit. That's a bit.
Jay,
Go
that
ahead, bro.
comment I made on the post you put in the member section. I'm not gonna reveal what this thing looks like right now, but should you decide, which I'm kind of hoping, because I actually did like that last Sunday, aside from the fact of what transpired with servers.
Right.
Should we do a run what you brung again and run our own liveries? I have actually, and I just finished doing it. I am going to be rolling with Ken Blocks 43.
All right.
And the livery is tailored, designed around Ken Block's Monster Energy livery.
All right, that's a bit. I'll make a note. I'll talk to the other drivers and we'll see about that.
Oh, and by the way, when I told you I got kicked from the race Sunday,
yeah,
I went back and watched the replay on the bottom of the screen. If you actually look at the bottom of the screen, right where you see like the driver's hands moving or whatever,
right,
it'll tell you who left session and when. I looked at it and I stared at that one part of the screen for almost a good 30 minutes into it. It was during the second safety car when it kicked me out and I didn't even notice it.
Got you. It's all good, bro. We're going to be in again this weekend. Maria Duncan, you got it. What's up?
First of all, Jay, I forgive you for booting me to the back of the wolf pack when I gave up my spot to the other brother.
Oh, shit, Maria, I'm so sorry. Oh, my damn. Oh, my God, I'm so sorry. You gave it up to Sheldon and
exactly. I gave Sheldon.
I apologize.
But I thought you were going to come right back to me. Instead, you dropped me to the back of the pack. But that's okay.
My bad. I didn't mean to George Russell you. My bad.
It's all right. Well, first of all, I want to go on record that I will never respect Max for a myriad of reasons. I can't go through them all because I want to be respectful of the time on here. Okay. But I will say this. Max may become a great driver someday, statistically, but he will never be a true champion in my book, because for me, a true champion embodies a certain spirit, a certain mindset. And Max just isn't capable of embodying those qualities of a true champion. A true champion will accept their, when they're wrong, they'll take accountability. They know how to give props to their main competitors. And I haven't seen Max do any of that. So here's an example. After 80, 20, 21, honestly, I couldn't watch the ending of all that, but I didn't hear anywhere where, Lewis gave Max props, but I didn't hear Max giving Lewis props, especially like he should have, given the fight they had and the class with which Lewis handled, what the FIA did to him at the end of that race. So I'll just leave that part there. But I also want to say, on a different subject with respect to the pit stops, I think Merck should just go over there and tap that brother on the shoulder over there at Red Bull and tell him, come on over, write him a nice big check, because he ought to be getting sick of that stuff over there right about now.
Right.
Give that brother a big check, have him come on over and show the folks over at Merck how to do the pit stops, because we all know you can have a great car, you can have a great driver, but if those pit stops aren't on point, we're shooting ourselves in the foot. So
facts.
Yep, that's what I gotta say.
That's a very good point. You ain't lying about that.
Go
ahead.
To that. Maria, the guy you're talking about, I saw an interview on another channel, and he said the way it's a good pit stop where it sounds like one gun. When you're in such a good sync with your whole team, it sounds like one gun is doing it. And he said that's what they strive for, is for them to hit the car at the exact same time, and it sounds like one gun versus four individual at different pace and different timing. So that's one thing Mert needs to listen to. But yeah, that'll be good to see him on Mercedes. I mean, Red Bull took a lot of Mercedes people, so they can
under the cost cap.
Oh yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah, but I think the pit stop. I really, not to be harsh, I feel like there's no excuse for it. There's no excuse for it. No matter how bad the car was, that was something those guys could have practiced on their own. It doesn't, to me, it doesn't really impact the cost cap. Just get in there and practice those pit stops. I mean, for an 8-time, constructor champion to have a subpar pit stop crew, I just don't know what to say about that. So, because they should be able to know who is holding up the line, who is not doing their part. Replace them. I'm sorry, we love you, but let's find a better spot for you within the organization, because the pit stop, is probably not your bag.
And I'm going to add to that and tell them in regards to what Maria just said, as far as what they should know. When I was at the garage of McLaren, they walked me out to the box. And there's a lot of details in the box that you don't really get to see on TV, maybe because they're too small or you don't see them there at the race day. But they literally have a cluster of GoPros surrounding that entire box from multiple angles so that they can see the view from everybody that's active on that car when that car rolls in. So there's no reason that Mercedes, being, like Maria said, 8-time world constructor champions, should not have the resources, should not have the information, should not have the ability, and damn sure should not have the man hours in practicing to get shit perfect. So that is, to me, evidence of no matter how great you are, when you're that great or when you're resting on the shoulders of having a great driver, you tend to neglect other smaller areas that are components of being great to continue on. And I think Mercedes rested on the fact that Lewis could compensate for their failures in those areas. And now that they had a subpar car, Lewis's energy had to go into, hell, not only being physically beat among the G-forces, but trying to get that car into positions and trying to collect data and trying to sacrifice. So I don't have the means to compensate for a lack-ass, suck-ass pit crew team. So yeah, I think that's what happened there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Facts.
So so next we're gonna go ahead. We got Galactus. Go ahead, brother man. Very good point, Maria.
Oh no, that was my point. Was just piggybacking on Maria, and also, hopefully Mercedes get better pit crew. But yeah, that was my main point.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right, that's a bet. Then we go on to the Lady Mary Beanie next, and we got 6 more minutes, and then we're gonna find our last person the back doors. It'll probably be one, 2 other people, and then we'll be up out of here. Mary Beanie, spit your facts. What you got?
Totally agree with Maria. It's
hard not to.
No, but she's totally correct. I mean, Merck used to be great at the pit stops. I mean, if it comes to me, when I go to Silverstone, that I've got to slap them about the place to get themselves into gear, I'll do it. Because it's shocking. Some of the ones last year, it wasn't as bad as the Carlos Sainz one. What was that, like 12 seconds or something? 11 seconds? But I was thinking, like, even though they've got Freddie Vasseur now as like team principal of Ferrari, I don't think that's going to solve Ferrari's problems. I'd like to see a three-way battle, but I think it's only going to be a two-way battle.
Okay. All right. That's fair. That's fair. Wildcat, what you got?
Something else I forgot to mention, and this one I'm actually curious about. Williams is still without a team principal at the moment, but there was speculation out of one YouTube channel that there may have been some consideration and talks going on with Susie Wolf.
Oh, I heard a rumor of that.
Toto Wolff's wife, team principal of Williams.
Right.
And I mean, to a point, I don't think that would be a bad call. She does have racing experience, previously.
Yeah, it's not a bad call at all. I mean,
the only thing I could see that would be a issue well, I don't see it as an issue, but other teams will start looking at it as, oh, well, that's Toto.
Well, like
That's
Red
Toto's
Bull and
wife.
AlphaTauri. Come
Yeah,
on.
they're gonna start thinking, oh, that's Toto's wife. Oh, Mercedes gonna
So
start using Williams as a farm team.
that's what
But
Red Bull does. So they
my
can't,
thing
if
is,
they're gonna look at that crooked, then they gotta go ahead and break up the Red Bull AlphaTauri crew then.
yeah, and my issue with it is Red Bull wants to cry about everything every other team does, but yet you personally own another team on the grid,
Right.
and Mercedes is over here. They only worry about Mercedes, but they technically do have a hand in McLaren, in Williams, and Aston Martin because they do what? They provide them with power units.
Yeah, it's not the same
power
though.
units on the grid. It's not the
Right.
same, but
Right.
when you look at how Mercedes did with Russell,
Right.
Russell came in at Williams, and now he's in a Mercedes car.
Yeah, he was
You
under
got-
management by Toto, I think. Toto was his manager. So yeah.
Yep. And
Right.
now you got Albon at Williams with Logan Sargent coming in.
Right.
If them two prove to be a good team pairing, and well, let's hope that Logan doesn't pull a Latifi, which I don't think he will, based on looking at how he handled himself in F2.
Right.
If Logan can actually bust out them lap times and keep up with Albon,
Right.
we might see something going on if Susie does become team principal of Williams.
Right.
So that was actually something else I'm actually looking forward to see is how is Logan going to handle moving into F1 and knowing that, well, he's the first American to be on the grid in ages.
No, he's not the first American.
He's the first one in a long time.
In a long time, yeah. In a long
And
time.
that to a point is kind of going to be more of a lot of pressure and eyes on him. Oh, is America, do they have a driver now?
Right.
And I want to see if, and after watching, I watched every season of Drive to Survive, so I'm actually caught up. That actually was quite entertaining. And as I've learned, Gunter Steiner's favorite word is fuck.
Fuck. Yeah, he's the F man. Damn right. He fuck slammed my door.
It's like everything he said the entire series is these guys are fucking idiots. So you fucking kidding me? You're fucking
That's
fucking
Samuel
fucking.
Jackson's
I'm like,
cousin.
well,
You ain't know?
Lord. I'm like, good Lord. But okay. Yeah. But as I've seen, Gunter Steiner, he's actually, he knows where the team can get to. The question is, we know what K-Mag can do. We've seen Nico Hulkenberg before. I don't feel like they made the right call with letting Mick Schumacher go. But again, Mick being a reserve driver for Mercedes, that could actually open a bigger door for him later on down the road. Should Andretti pull this off and get in? Or when Audi does, get going, Mick might actually have a seat.
Yeah, we can see. We can see. All right, so listen, Kurt, you going to go ahead and backdoor us, man. You're going to go ahead and close us out. Then I'm going to go ahead and outro us, and then we'll go ahead and open the floor from there. So, Kurt, what you got, bro? Kirkland.
My bad. I was just going to say, if Susie Wolf does end up taking that position, I'm going to be very upset. If Jamie Chadwick doesn't end up getting that seat, because doesn't she already put hours down in the Williams car, if I'm not mistaken?
She has done some. She has done some, but she hasn't been given anywhere near enough.
Yeah. So, I mean, considering Susie Wolf is probably like the closest.
And Susie Wolf was a reserve driver for Williams.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
So it'd be very fitting for that opportunity for Jamie to come through her. So, I mean, I hope to see it because I feel like this is a long overdue kind of change of the guard where the F1's siloed, right? Like there's fans all over the world. And I think that dynamic is slowly going to change where it turns more into a melting pot, whether it wants to or not.
Hell yeah.
Money rules everything, man. That's where the money is.
Yeah, you ain't lying about that, man. And so with that, I will say this, that Williams, if you don't get your shit together, you are likely going to be the Cleveland Browns of Formula One. I'm just going to leave it at that. Get your shit together. I'm just saying, when you were once great, angel falling from heaven, I just need you to grow your wings back and start flying. And Susie Wolf being team principal, I would love to see that. She was once a reserve driver there. I would like to see the presence of Jamie. I would like to see Jamie given an opportunity. People, I'm really going to be watching Jamie and Indy next. And I'm hoping she crushes that shit. And then what I'm hoping that people don't over criticize her, seeing how many cars it is, she's mid-pack and being like, oh, she's ass. There's like so many other drivers behind her. So like, how are you calling somebody in the middle ass? Like, don't over criticize, don't be biased, don't discriminate. Just look at Jamie. She's a driver. That's what she is. She's a driver. The car doesn't give a damn. Car doesn't care about sex. Car don't care about what you do at home, what you do at the dinner table. Only thing you do is control machinery, and can you control it better than others around you? So with that being said, this Wolves Den is going to come to a conclude. If you're not here, it's because you're not VIP. You're not in with the rest of the fam, or your ass was late and you didn't show up. And I'm going to talk to y'all about that too. So other than that, we out. Peace. Thanks for watching another episode of Wolfpack Performance. Don't forget to check out some of my other content on Formula One and motorsports topics. Like, share, subscribe, and we go live on the weekends. See you soon.